Hello class, welcome to a backyard mini lecture. Today we're going to talk about Maurice Merleau-Ponty, or in French, Maurice Merleau-Ponty. And he is a phenomenologist. And we're going to go down the list here on the whiteboard as it becomes relevant. Merleau-Ponty was one of my favorite philosophers when I was a graduate student, and I want to show you how carefully I read his book, The Phenomenology of Perception, which of course is in an English translation here. Translated from the French by Colin Smith. And the book itself, so Merleau-Ponty lived from 1907 to 1961, so he died young, and the book here came out, well, in the 1950s, and I'm going to read to you a couple of paragraphs from this page here. So I don't know if you can tell, this is very, very dense writing, and I have underlined just about everything, which is typical of an excited student. And this is the passage that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So Merleau-Ponty is a phenomenologist, and from the module you will know that he is inspired by the philosophy of the German thinker Edmund Husserl. And Husserl, they're almost contemporaries, but Husserl is just one generation older than Merleau-Ponty. And as you know from the module, Husserl pretty much invented a brand new response to the mind-body problem, where he simply dismisses it and says we live in a world that we have been thrown into from birth. We take it for granted. And he calls it the life world, das Lebenswelt, and our experience is filled with these impressions from this world that we live in. It is not like we are a subject observing an object, but we are our consciousness, our mind is filled with the world that we experience. He calls it an intentionality with a subject pole and an object pole, but it is an entirely unified experience. We don't have a subject-object split, which is where he revises Descartes' old idea of being a thinking thing that is completely different from the extended thing. So that is a very brief intro to phenomenology and to Merleau-Ponty, because he learns from it and he adopts the idea of the unity of the experience. But this is where we get back to the whiteboard here. Let me get this right. Being a phenomenologist, that means that he wants us to observe and describe the phenomenon of the experience. I hope you can see that, because I actually can't see what the screen is showing. And that is the job of the phenomenologist. And in this, he's on a line with what Husserl was talking about. But in addition to that, Merleau-Ponty says that, okay, see if I can get this right here, that our human experience is not just a mind phenomenon, but also a body phenomenon. And that means that our body is different from all other material things. It is our interface with the world. And this interface idea is what we're going to be talking about. And if the whiteboard was not perfectly visible, I will post a picture of it in the module next to this video. Okay. So let me, I can't see what I'm doing here. I was trying to pause. Oh, there we go. I'm going to pause the camera and I'm going to set up for the next part. Okay, we're going to talk about how the body is an interface with the world. And Merleau-Ponty says that the way that our bodies are familiar to us is completely different from the way that we experience all other material things. Because all other material things, we can look at them three-dimensionally, but we can't do that with our own bodies. As a matter of fact, there are parts of your body that you have never seen. And then, of course, we smart people, we say, well, that's what we have mirrors for. You know, a mirror will show us the parts that we can't normally see. So I've got us a mirror here. And if I tried to, I don't know, can I do this? I don't know. Hello. The face that we see in the mirror is, of course, not the face that other people see, because we're seeing it reversed. And when we see a photo of ourselves, or we see us on video, then sometimes we pause, because that's not exactly the face that we know when we look at ourselves in the mirror, because we are we are no longer a mirror image of ourselves. So these days we're used to seeing us on video, so we're pretty familiar with that face too. But there's nothing like the observation without going through a medium. Because when we go through a medium, we are actually seeing ourselves as other people would see us. And that means that we don't have the immediacy of the experience of being in our own body. Have you ever seen your tongue? I mean, your tongue is so much part of who you are. You have a real difficulty communicating if you don't use your tongue. So when you were a kid, you probably tried to see if you could see your own tongue. So try to stick your tongue out of your mouth and see if you can see it. You probably can see a tip of your tongue, right? How about your ears? Can you see your ears? Well, only if you use a mirror or a camera, right? Fortunately, you will not have to see your teeth in person, because that means that they will be out of your mouth. So let's hope that they stay where they are. Your eyebrows, barely, right? Your nose, the tip of your nose. But that's the familiarity we have with our face when we're trying to look at it through our own eyes, or experiencing it from this vantage point, right? Other people, they're way more familiar with our face than we are. And then, of course, all our inner organs, hopefully we won't have to look at those either. Your back. Some of us, we try on clothes in department stores, and we look in the mirror, and they have a three-way mirror usually, and we know how to, take a look, see what it looks like. But again, it's through the mirror. It's not through the immediate experience. And yet, we know our world through our bodies like no other tool in the world. So this is where it gets to be so very special, because our body, like he says, is an interface with the world. This is how we connect with the world. It's not just like Descartes thought, a mind experience, I'm thinking and I'm hoping and I'm doubting and so forth. It is a physical being present in the world that we have with our bodies, and we are not truly human without it. And that's, of course, also what Damasio is saying, and I will write something about that in the module that you'll see. But this is where Merleau-Ponty says something that nobody else in philosophy had said by that time, and we're talking about the 1950s, he says, yes, your body is your interface with the world, touching the world and reacting to it and bumping into things and so forth. But it's not just your body. It's also the tools that you are used to using in your life, especially tools that you are very familiar with, because you have become very good at using those tools. So in the book, he talks about a typist and a woman with a hat and a man who is blind and has a stick that he uses to move around in his world. And I want to read some of that to you. But in our modern world, we can add things that I'm sure that you are incredibly familiar with, and you will understand immediately what he's talking about. Your cell phone. Your cell phone is something that you probably can operate without even looking at it, because it has become such an extension of your body. Now, I'm an amateur painter. I want to show you something. Where is it? I'm an amateur painter, and I painted this little piece here from up in Pine Valley. And I am so not an expert, but I have painted for many, many, many years. And when I paint, sure enough, it's as if my fingers extend to the tip of the brush. It is when you get that to that stage, and it's not hard, but it's a wonderful thing, because you don't have to get close. Say, oh, I have to be really, really close in order to paint this, because you've got the extension right here, and you can operate it just like that. So that's for those of us who love the pictorial arts and who dabble in them and so forth. But then, of course, there are all these other possibilities. There's the athlete, right? The athlete and her or his or their tools. The baseball player with a bat knows exactly how far out the bat is and can hit that ball usually when he wants to. The soccer player, of course, they have their feet where the toe is where the toe extends to, but the ball becomes kind of a part of their body too. Now, most of us drive cars, so we know exactly how big that car is when we're going to park it. And when we drive a new car that's bigger than our previous car, then we generally experience that we're not quite sure how to back up and how far to be able to go, because our body has not extended to the front and the back of the car yet. Or if it's a smaller car, then, oh my goodness, I can fit in here. It takes a while before our sense of the body extends to the new sensation of the car. And Merleau-Ponty, okay, so he's talking about a typist, so that's where I'm doing cell phone these days. But he's talking about a lady with a big hat. So I'm kind of a lady, and I have a big hat. This is my favorite hat. I love this hat. And I'm used to wearing big hats, but it's not really that fashionable anymore. But there was a time, especially in the 50s, when Merleau-Ponty was writing his books, where ladies not only wore big hats, but they also wore feathers in their hats, and the feathers could extend, I don't know, out to here. And he says, just watch a lady getting into a car with a new hat on. And at first she bumps the hat on the car, on the door, because she's not used to how big it is. Or you go in, you walk through a door, oops, yeah, there was a new hat. But after a while, you know exactly how big your hat is. And you just get into the car like that, because your sense of body has extended out to here. And he says, this is how our bodies work. They take on the extension of the tool, and we extend that tool into how we feel about the world. And especially, Merleau-Ponty is actually one of the few philosophers who also want to talk about the life experience of people who are, shall we say, differently abled or who have disabilities, because he thinks, well, that's as human an experience as the so-called normal experience. So he's also talking about how people have aids that help them move around in the world, such as a wheelchair, and how their sense of body extends to that wheelchair. So Merleau-Ponty is saying a lot of things in the 50s that other philosophers hadn't gotten around to yet. And I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you. Now, I'm going to stop this video, and then I'm going to read to you in another video, and hopefully the camera works for that, so I will post it also. And thanks for following along here with this little mini lecture, and I will see you in the next one.